Good Vachra Boisai. Kesubos Daf Yomi, from the most famous songs and Gemaras and Shas. Really Yishma Kesugya today. Keitzad Miragdim Lifnei HaKala. How do you dance in front of the Kala? In other words, what do you say in front of the Kala to make her happy, to make her chazan happy, and to be mekayim the mitzvah of Achnasas Kala? According to Beis Shammai, you say exactly what she is, her prose. Midvar sheker tirchak. You don't want to say a lie. According to Beis Hillel, you always say na v'chasuda. She has a special chen, a chut shel chesed. Just like if somebody purchases something and he shows it to you, you don't say, you shouldn't have bought it, it's terrible. If you can't give it back, what's the point? Just find what's good about it, and that's what you tell them. Shetzarach daitumu revis in Mabrias, the Gemara says, you always should find for each person what they want to hear, and that's what you tell them. In Eretz Yisrael, they would tell the Kala, they would sing a song, like Kechal, like Kisrak, like Pirkos. This Kala is so beautiful, she doesn't need makeup, she doesn't need blush, she doesn't have to have her hair done. What's very interesting is that they would say the same exact song to Reb Zera. They sang him that song when he got smicha. In other words, Reb Zera, you don't need special rabbanish clothing. Whatever you're wearing right now, that's perfect. When Reb Ami and Reb Asi, they had smicha, they said, halavai, more people like you should have smicha, loy sarmisin, veloy sarmitin. It was like a rhyme. We don't need people that say crooked svaras, and we know people that are rags, that have holes in them, people that are pure and say svar yeshara. Some say that they would say a different lashon, loy chamisin veloy turmisin. In other words, we don't need people that only say a fifth, chaimish, chamisin, a fifth of the svara. And the Aruch says it means we don't need people that only learn a fifth of the Masechta. Veloy turmisin, says Rashi, I don't know what that means exactly. The slaves of the Caesar, they would sing songs for Rebbe Avo when he would come. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, he would dance with the Hadas. Says the Gemara, a beautiful story of Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. He used to juggle 3 Hadasim. And Rav Zera said, you're embarrassing us. Look how Talmid Chacham is acting. And the Gemara says, in fact, according to Tosfos, that because he danced like that, because he danced with the Hadasim, that's what caused Amuda Denura. A pillar of fire came down at his funeral and separated him and everybody else. And Tosfos says it was in the shape of a Hadas. That's how everybody knew. That's how Reb Zera knew that it was because of the Hadas. He grabbed this one beautiful mitzvah of Achnasas Kala, and that's what gave him that schus. Rav Acha says the Gemara took the Kala on his shoulder, and he said, if the Kala is in your mind like a beam, then it's mutter. But the Achronim say that nowadays we don't have that. We can't make a Kala like a beam. The halacha is not like the Manoma that says they could look and stare at the Kala in order to give the chassan a better feeling about her. Who goes first? You have the procession of the Kala and you have a funeral. You have the procession of the Kala and a king. Says the Gemara, king always comes first, then goes Kala, then goes the procession of the funeral. The Gemara says that Agrifas HaMelech went off path in order to allow a Kala to go through, and Chacham gave him shvach, but it's only because it wasn't noticeable that he was doing it for the Kala. Because the halacha is that a king cannot forgo his honor, his kavod. When it comes to a nasi, there is a machlokes whether or not a nasi can be meichel on his kavod. When there are not enough people at a funeral, you can go and be mevatel Torah for a funeral and be mevatel Torah for Achnasas Kala. Somebody that learns Chumash and Mishnayos, the amount of people that is necessary for you not to go to the funeral is 12,000 plus 6,000 trumpeters. In other words, 18,000 people. Some say enough people that could go from the gate of the city all the way to the cemetery. The Gemara tells us, Knessinasa, like 600,000 people that were there by Matan Torah. That's how you have to have by the funeral 600,000 people for a Talmid Chacham. Somebody that gave over Torah, he was a Rebbe to Klal Yisrael, there's no amount. Even millions of people at the funeral, you have to be mevatel Torah. But a person that didn't learn Chumash, didn't learn Mishnayos, you don't get up and mevatel Torah for his funeral. We learned in the Mishnah, one of the simanim for a psula is hinuma. If she wears a hinuma, what is a hinuma? It's a chuppah of hadassim. You take hadassim, you put in the shape of a tanur, put it on her head. Or it's something that covers her eyes that she could take a little nap and people won't notice. In Bavel, they would put oil, they would rub oil into the heads of the Talmidim. If someone was already married, lost her husband, she got divorced, they wouldn't throw dried wheat at the wedding, and that's how you knew that they were already married. If somebody comes to somebody else and says, this field was yours and I bought it from you, and he was sitting in the field for 3 years of chazakah, he's believed even if the person has eidim that it was his. The Gemara tells us, the Rav Huna says, the Chiddush in the Mishnah is that he ate 3 years of chazakah, in other words, 2 years with the father and 1 year with the son, in the beginning of the chazakah, and even if the son became a gadol, and he comes and he says, listen, I purchased this field from your father, he's believed to say so, because there's no shar shachot here. He's coming in and he's admitting that he bought the field, that there is a field even to begin with, and that he bought it from. So we believe him. If this person that you're doing the chazakah, he owned the field, but he had to run away. So you didn't really have 3 years of chazakah. Part of the years of the 3 years, he had to run away. Well, it depends. If he ran away because he was fearful for his life, they were after him, that's not considered a chazakah. But if he was fearful because he had to pay money, that is a chazakah. Performing a chazakah, being in somebody's field for 3 years, not in front of the person is in another city, it's considered a chazakah as long as the other person could make a protest, could do a macha. And the Gemara tells us that the cities of Yehuda and Galil are considered places that you don't hear the macha, because it's always like a time of war where people don't go back and forth. Have a wonderful day.